The cargo ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Captain Hyun sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the screens show nothing but empty black. The celestial drift was 3 weeks into a boring trip back to Earth. They carried grain and medical supplies from the farming colonies. Nothing exciting ever happened on these runs. Hyun was about to go get coffee when Nari spoke up. She was the communications officer, and she looked confused. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," she said. Hyun walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "A signal. It's weak, but it's definitely a distress call." Nari pressed buttons on her console. "It's coming from the Veyron system." "That's off our route," Hyun said. "Can you clean it up? Let's hear what it says." Nari worked for several minutes. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Finally, she got the signal clear enough to play. A voice came through the speakers. It sounded scared and desperate. "This is Elder Vosh of the Kalari people. We are under attack. Our world is burning. The Brutok Empire is killing us. We have no weapons. We have no army. Please, anyone who hears this, we need help. They are killing our children. Please help us." The message repeated. Hyun felt something cold in his stomach. Nari turned to look at him, her eyes wide. "Sir, what do we do?" she asked. Hyun thought for a moment. Earth was 2 weeks away. The Veyron system was only 3 days away. He looked at his crew on the bridge. They were all watching him. "Change course," Hyun said. "Take us to Veyron." "Captain, we're a cargo ship," his first officer said. "We don't have weapons. We can't fight." "I know," Hyun replied, "but we can see what's happening. We can help whoever needs it. Set the course." The celestial drift turned toward the Veyron system. For 3 days, they listened to the distress call play over and over. Each time, Elder Vosh's voice sounded more desperate. Each time, Hyun felt more sure they were doing the right thing. When they arrived at Veyron, Hyun saw hell. 3 moons orbited a green and blue planet. The moons should have been beautiful. Instead, they were burning. From space, Hyun could see cities on fire. He could see large ships in orbit, firing down at the surface. These were the Brutok warships. "Get me closer," Hyun ordered, "but keep us hidden. Use the planet's shadow." The celestial drift moved carefully. They saw escape pods launching from the moons. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Small ships were trying to run away. Some made it, some did not. The Brutok warships shot many of them down. "Record everything," Hyun told Nari. "Every single thing you see." They watched for hours. They saw Brutok soldiers on the ground, moving through cities. They saw buildings destroyed. They saw groups of people running. The people were reptilian, with green and brown scales. These were the Kalari. They looked scared and hurt. Then Hyun saw something that made his blood run cold. On one of the moons, Brutok soldiers were gathering Kalari civilians in a town square. There were many children. The Brutok raised their weapons. "Turn away!" Hyun ordered his crew. "Don't watch this!" But he watched. He had to. Someone had to see. Someone had to remember. The Brutok fired. The square became silent and still. Hyun's hands shook. He pressed the button for ship-wide communication. "This is the captain. We are going to help these people. Anyone who disagrees can say so now." Nobody disagreed. His crew was angry too. They found a group of Kalari refugees in small ships near the third moon. The celestial drift opened its cargo bay and took them aboard. There were maybe 200 Kalari. They were hurt and scared. Many were crying. Some were children without parents. Elder Vosh was among them. He was old, with dark green scales and tired eyes. He approached Hyun carefully. "You came," Vosh said. His voice was the same one from the distress call. "We sent our message to 23 different species. You are the first to come." "How long has this been happening?" Hyun asked. 6 days, Vosh replied. "The Brutok came without warning. They said our moons were in their territory now. They said we could leave or die. But when we tried to leave, they shot our ships. They want us dead. All of us." "Why?" Nari asked. She was helping bandage a Kalari child's arm. "Because they can," Vosh said quietly. "Because we cannot stop them. We are farmers and teachers and artists. We have never hurt anyone." Hyun felt rage building in his chest. He had served in Earth's Navy years ago. He had seen war. But never like this. Never against people who could not fight back. "We need to get you somewhere safe," Hyun said. "But first I need to send a message to Earth. They need to see what's happening here." Vosh looked surprised. "You will call your people? We only asked for sanctuary. We cannot ask you to fight for us." "You already did," Hyun said. "When you sent that distress call, when you said they were killing your children, you asked everyone for help. Now I'm going to make sure my people answer." Hyun went back to the bridge. He told Nari to prepare a transmission to Earth. He would send everything they recorded, every burning city, every murdered civilian, everything. But before Nari could send it, the celestial drift shook hard. Alarms started blaring. "Brutok warship!" someone shouted. "They found us!" A massive ship appeared on their screens. It was 10 times bigger than the celestial drift. Weapons powered up on its hull. Hyun knew they could not run. The cargo ship was too slow. They could not fight. They had no weapons, but he could still send the message. "Nari, send it now," he ordered. "Everything we have. Send it to Earth Command. Send it to every news station. Send it to everyone." "Sending," Nari shouted, her fingers moving fast over her controls. The Brutok ship moved closer. A voice came over their communication system. It was cold and cruel. "Human vessel, you have interfered in Brutok affairs. Prepare to be destroyed." Hyun stood up straight. He pressed the button to respond. His voice was calm and clear. "This is Captain Hyun of the human vessel, Celestial Drift. We have civilians aboard, refugees you were trying to murder. You want to kill us? Then do it. But know this. I just sent everything I saw to Earth. My people will know what you did here, and they will come for you." The Brutok laughed. "Humans. You are weak. You are far from home. No one will come." "You don't know humans very well," Hyun said. "We heard a call for help. That's all we needed." The transmission ended. The Brutok ship powered up its main weapon. Hyun looked at his crew. They were scared, but they stood ready. Behind them, through the cargo bay cameras, he could see the Kalari refugees. Elder Vosh was holding 2 children, protecting them. This was worth it, Hyun thought. Even if they died here, Earth would know, Earth would see, and Earth would respond. The Brutok fired. The message from the celestial drift reached Earth at 3 in the morning, Earth Standard Time. It arrived at military headquarters first. Then it spread. By sunrise, every news station on Earth was showing the footage. By noon, every human colony across the stars had seen it. The images were horrible. Burning cities, bodies in streets, children running from explosions. The Kalari people dying while the galaxy did nothing. And then the final transmission from Captain Yoon, defiant even as death came for him. People were angry. Not the quiet kind of angry. The deep, burning kind. Admiral Taeyang was in a meeting when his aide ran in, breaking every rule about protocol. The aide's face was red, and his hands shook as he held out a tablet. "Sir, you need to see this," the aide said. "Right now." Taeyang took the tablet. He watched the whole thing in silence. When it finished, he stood up without a word. He left the meeting and walked straight to the communications center. "Get me every fleet commander," he said. "Get me every colony governor. Get me the president. Do it now." Within an hour, President Yuna was in the assembly chambers. The room was packed. Representatives from every human world sat waiting. The mood was dark and angry. President Yuna was young for a president, only 45. She had been elected because she promised peace and prosperity. She never wanted war. But as she stood at the podium and looked at the faces around her, She knew peace was not what her people wanted today. "You've all seen the footage," she said. Her voice was steady but hard. "Captain Hyun and his crew are missing. We believe they are dead. The Kalari people are being exterminated, and we have a choice to make." One representative stood up. He was old and cautious. "Madam President, the Galactic Council has already sent us a message. They say this is not our concern. They say the Varen system is in Brutok territory." "They sent us that message 3 hours ago," Yuna replied. "Do you know what else happened 3 hours ago? We received 40,000 messages from our citizens. 40,000 in 3 hours, every single one demanding we do something. Every single one asking how we can call ourselves civilized if we let this happen." Another representative spoke up. "The Council says if we intervene, we'll be violating the Prime Non-Interference Directive. Other species will see us as warmongers." "Then let them," Yuna said, her voice rising. "The Kalari sent a distress call to 23 species. 23. Only Captain Hyun answered. Only humans cared enough to try. What does that say about the galaxy? What does that say about us if we do nothing?" The room erupted in argument. Some said Earth was not strong enough to fight. Some said they would lose allies. Some said the Brutok would come for Earth next. Admiral Taeyang stood up. The room fell quiet. Everyone knew Taeyang. He had fought in the last war 30 years ago. He rarely spoke in political meetings. When he did, people listened. "I have 847 warships," Taeyang said. "I have 200,000 Marines. I have weapons we built and then locked away, hoping we would never need them again. The question before us is simple. A people called for help. Do we answer or not?" President Yuna looked at him. "Admiral, if we do this, if we fight, what will it cost us?" "Lives," Taeyang said without hesitation. "Ships, resources. The Brutok are strong. This will not be easy, but we will win." "How can you be sure?" someone asked. Taeyang's expression was cold. "Because they fight for territory. We will be fighting for something more important." President Yuna called for a vote. The room was silent as the numbers appeared on the screen. 842 representatives voted yes. 11 voted no. 6 abstained. "It's decided," Yuna said. "Admiral, mobilize the fleet, bring our people home, and make the Brutok pay for what they've done." Taeyang saluted and left immediately. Within the hour, every military base on Earth was active. Ships were being prepared, soldiers were saying goodbye to families. Weapons were being loaded. In a secret facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Minho received the call he thought would never come. He was the head of the Prometheus Research Division. His job was to develop weapons Earth hoped never to use. "Project Warhammer is active," the message said. "Prepare everything." Minho looked at his team. "Wake up the arsenal," he said quietly. "All of it." They opened sealed vaults. Inside were weapons designed during the last war. Railguns that could punch through any armor. Missiles with yields that could crack moons. Fighters equipped with AI systems that made pilots almost impossible to shoot down. "These were supposed to stay locked away forever," one of Minho's assistants said. "They were locked away until we needed them," Minho replied. "Now we do." Across Earth, similar scenes played out. Commander Jinwoo, who had retired 5 years ago, received a message activating him. He was to lead the Ghost Battalions, elite Marine units that specialized in the impossible. Jinwoo put on his uniform again. It still fit perfectly. He called his old team. Every single one answered. Within 2 days, 10,000 Ghost Battalion Marines were ready. They were older now. Some had gray hair. Some limped from old injuries. But they were still the best fighters humanity had ever trained. In the Fleet Command Center, Sora was working without sleep. She was the lead strategist, and her job was to plan the battle. She had information about the Brutok. They were strong. They had good ships. They relied on fear and overwhelming force. Sora created Operation Righteous Fury. It was a three-phase plan. Phase 1 was shock and surprise. Phase 2 was breaking their fleet. Phase 3 was making sure none of them escaped. "It's aggressive," her assistant said, looking at the plan. "Very aggressive. We'll take heavy casualties." "I know," Sora said. "But if we fight carefully, this war could last years. If we hit them with everything at once, we end it fast. Fast means fewer Kalari die." Messages came from other species as Earth prepared for war. The Altaran Union sent a warning. "This is not your conflict. The Brutok Empire is powerful. They will destroy you." Admiral Tae-Yang sent a reply that became famous, just 5 words. "Then they'll die trying." The Zenthari Consortium offered to mediate peace talks. President Yuna responded, "The Brutok don't want peace. They want genocide. We're not negotiating with murderers." Other humans started volunteering. Civilian ships were being converted to medical vessels. Factories were running full-time making supplies. Everyone wanted to help. One reporter asked President Yuna why Earth was risking so much for aliens they had never met. Yuna's answer was broadcast everywhere. "Because someone asked for help," she said simply. "Because we saw children dying and we cannot look away. Because if we ignore this, what does that make us? The Kalari are not our species, but they are people, and people deserve to be protected." The message resonated across human space. It also reached other species. Some thought humans were foolish. Some thought they were dangerous. A few thought they might be noble. On the 6th day of preparation, the fleet was ready. 847 warships gathered in orbit around Earth. It was the largest military force humanity had assembled in decades, maybe ever. Admiral Tae-Yang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the dreadnought Indomitable. He looked at the fleet around him. Each ship held crews ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. He opened a channel to all ships. Every sailor, every marine, every pilot heard his voice. "We are going to war," Tae-Yang said. "Not for territory, not for resources. We're going because people asked for help, and we are the only ones who answered. The Brutok think we're soft. They think we're weak. They think we won't fight for strangers. Let's show them how wrong they are. All ships prepare for jump. We're going to Varan." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel. 847 warships disappeared from Earth's orbit, heading toward the Varan system. In the Varan system, the Brutok were still hunting the last Kalari survivors. Warlord Thex stood on his flagship's bridge, confident and pleased. His forces had almost finished. Soon the Kalari would be extinct, and the moons would belong to Brutok. His sensor officer looked up suddenly. "Sir, we're detecting ships. Many ships. They're coming out of FTL." "Who?" Thex asked, annoyed. The officer's face went pale. "They're human ships, sir. Hundreds of them." Thex laughed. "The humans? Coming here? Excellent. We'll destroy them and teach the galaxy a lesson." He had no idea what was coming for him. The human fleet appeared like a storm. One moment, the space around Varan was quiet. The next, 847 warships filled the void. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Warlord Thex stood on his flagship's bridge and watched the displays. He had 400 ships. They were good ships, strong and proven in many battles. The Brutok had conquered 17 species. They had never lost a war. "Send them a message," Thex ordered. "Tell these humans to leave or be destroyed." The communication officer sent the message. The reply came quickly. It was Admiral Tae-Yang's face on the screen. The human admiral looked old, his hair gray, his face lined, but his eyes were hard as ice. "Warlord Thex," Tae-Yang said, "I am Admiral Tae-Yang of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have murdered innocent people. You have committed genocide against the Kalari. I am here to end you." You have one chance. Surrender now, and your crews will be allowed to live as prisoners. Refuse, and we will show no mercy." Thex laughed. He actually laughed. "You dare threaten me? Human, your people are weak. You have never fought the Brutok Empire. We will crush you, and then we will come for your Earth." Taiyang's expression did not change. "You were warned. All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you hurt the helpless." The transmission ended. For a moment, both fleets hung in space, waiting. Then the Brutok opened fire first. Captain Donghae commanded the Indomitable, Admiral Taiyang's flagship. He had fought in the last war, commanding smaller ships. This dreadnought was the most powerful vessel humanity had ever built. "Incoming fire," his tactical officer called out. "Multiple missiles and energy weapons. All power to forward shields," Donghae ordered. "Return fire. Target their flagship." The battle began in earnest. The Brutok ships were strong. Their weapons hit hard. The human shields flared and sparked under the assault. 2 human destroyers took direct hits. One exploded. The other started venting atmosphere but kept fighting. But the humans did not fight like other species. They did not try to protect their ships. They attacked like they had nothing to lose. Pilot Hana led Eagle Squadron. 48 fighters launched from the carrier Defiant. She was the best pilot in the fleet. She had shot down more enemies than anyone else during the last war. She was 39 years old now, but her hands were steady on the controls. "Eagle Squadron, follow my lead," she said over the communication channel. "We're going straight for their carriers. Get in close, very close." The fighters accelerated to maximum speed. Brutok point defense systems fired at them. 3 fighters exploded. 4 more took hits but kept flying. Hana's fighter shook as weapons fire passed close by. "Too close!" someone shouted. "Not close enough," Hana replied. She aimed her fighter at a Brutok carrier's hangar bay. At the last second, she launched all her missiles and pulled up hard. The missiles streaked into the hangar and detonated. The carrier's entire side blew out. Her squadron followed her example. They flew like demons, taking insane risks. The Brutok had never seen anyone fight like this. Human pilots would ram their fighters into Brutok ships if they ran out of missiles. They would position themselves between Brutok weapons and damaged human vessels, using themselves as shields. Warlord Thex watched in growing horror. "What are they doing? They're dying for nothing!" General Cal, commanding the Brutok ground forces, stood beside him. "Sir, they're not fighting for victory. They're fighting for revenge." The human warships moved closer. They took terrible damage. The Brutok fleet destroyed 20 human ships in the first hour, but the humans would not retreat. They kept coming, closer and closer, their weapons firing without stop. Captain Donghae watched his shields drop to 30%. "Bring us alongside that battleship," he ordered, pointing to a large Brutok vessel. "Sir, at that range, their weapons will tear us apart," his first officer warned. "Then we better kill them first," Donghae replied. "All weapons, continuous fire, engineering, I need everything the engines have." The Indomitable moved in close to the Brutok battleship, so close that both ships' shields overlapped. At that range, weapons designed for long-distance combat became devastating. The Indomitable fired its railguns. The heavy metal slugs punched through the Brutok ship's armor like paper. The Brutok fired back. Explosions rocked the Indomitable. Deck 4 vented to space. Deck 7 caught fire. But Donghae did not pull away. "Closer," he ordered. "Ram them if you have to." The 2 ships traded fire for 3 minutes. It felt like hours. Then the Brutok battleship's reactor breached. It exploded in a ball of white fire. The Indomitable pulled away, trailing debris and burning atmosphere. Half its weapons were destroyed. 200 crew members were dead. But the ship still fought. Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated. Human ships closed to point-blank range. They ignored damage. They ignored casualties. Ship after ship, they pressed the attack. Sergeant Jiwan of the Ghost Battalions watched the battle from inside a Marine assault ship. His unit was waiting for the order to board enemy vessels. They wore heavy combat armor and carried weapons designed for close-quarters fighting. "Look at our people fight," one of his Marines said, watching the battle through the ship's cameras. "They know what's at stake," Jiwan replied. "Every minute this battle lasts, the Brutok might kill more Kalari. We have to end this fast." The order came. "All boarding parties launch. Target the enemy carriers and flagships." Assault ships rocketed toward damaged Brutok vessels. The Brutok tried to shoot them down, but their point defense systems were overwhelmed. Jiwan's ship slammed into a Brutok carrier that was already burning from Hana's earlier attack. "Breach and clear!" Jiwan shouted. "No mercy for murderers!" The Ghost Battalions poured into the Brutok ship. The fighting inside was brutal and close. The Brutok were bigger than humans, stronger in hand-to-hand combat. But the Ghost Battalions did not fight fair. They used explosives in corridors. They vented sections to space. They showed the same ruthless efficiency that their ships displayed. Jiwan led his squad through the carrier's command deck. Brutok officers fired at them. Jiwan threw a grenade, ducked behind cover, and then charged forward when it detonated. His rifle fired in controlled bursts. 3 Brutok fell. A Brutok officer, bigger than the others, raised his weapon at Jiwan. Before he could fire, Jiwan's squad mate shot him from the side. The Brutok fell. Jiwan nodded thanks and kept moving. They reached the carrier's bridge and set demolition charges. "Fall back," Jiwan ordered. 30 seconds. They ran. The carrier's bridge exploded behind them. Without command and control, the Brutok carrier was helpless. Other human ships targeted it and finished it off. 4 hours into the battle, Warlord Thex realized he was losing. Impossible. The Brutok never lost, but ship after ship was being destroyed. The humans fought like they were possessed. They took 2 casualties for everyone they inflicted, but they did not care. "Pull back," Thex ordered. "Retreat to the planet." General Cal looked at him in shock. "Sir, if we retreat to Kalari Prime, the humans will follow. They will fight on the surface." "Better than dying up here," Thex shouted. "Move the fleet, now!" The Brutok fleet, what was left of it, retreated toward the main planet. They had started with 400 ships. Now they had maybe 160. The humans had started with 847. They now had around 670. Admiral Tae Yang watched the Brutok retreat. His face showed no emotion. "All ships, pursue. Do not let them escape. And send a message to Commander Jinwoo. Tell him to prepare his ground forces. We're going to the surface." Warlord Thex landed his remaining ships on Kalari Prime. He gathered surviving Kalari civilians, maybe 10,000 of them. He put them in camps near his landing site. "The humans claim to care about these creatures," Thex said to General Cal. "Let's see how much they care. If they attack, the Kalari die with us." General Cal looked uncomfortable. "Sir, using civilians as shields is the only way we survive," Thex interrupted. "Do it." High above the planet, Admiral Tae Yang received the report. The Brutok had hostages. Thousands of Kalari civilians surrounded their position. Captain Donghae spoke quietly. "Sir, if we attack from orbit, we'll kill the hostages." "I know," Tae Yang said. He thought for a long moment. Then he opened a channel to the troop transports. "Commander Jinwoo, the Brutok have taken Kalari civilians hostage. We cannot use orbital weapons. This has to be done on the ground." Jinwoo's voice came back immediately. "Understood, Admiral. My Marines will handle it. We'll get those civilians out." "Commander," Tae Yang said slowly, "you understand what I'm ordering? You'll be fighting in close quarters, surrounded by hostages. This will be difficult." "Sir," Jinwoo replied, "we're the Ghost Battalions. Difficult is what we do. We'll bring those people home. All of them. The troop transports broke from the fleet and headed toward the planet's surface. Inside, 10,000 Marines prepared for the hardest fight of their lives. On the ground, Warlord Thex watched the human ships descend through the atmosphere. He smiled grimly. Let them come. They will learn that the Brutok Empire does not die easily. He had no idea how wrong he was. The drop pods fell through Kalari Prime's atmosphere like meteors. Inside each pod, Ghost Battalion Marines sat strapped in tight, their armor locked in place. Commander Jinwoo watched the altitude counter drop. 5,000 meters, 4,000, 3,000. Remember your training? Jinwoo said over the communication channel. The Brutok have hostages. We go in precise. We go in clean. Every shot counts. Every civilian matters. The pods hit the ground hard. The impact would have killed a normal person. The Ghost Battalion armor absorbed most of it, but Jinwoo still felt his teeth rattle. The pod door exploded outward, and he stepped into hell. Kalari Prime had been beautiful once. Now it was scarred with war. Burned buildings stood like broken teeth. The air smelled of smoke and death, and everywhere Jinwoo could see Brutok positions. They had set up around the Kalari refugee camps, using the civilians as human shields. Spread out, Jinwoo ordered. Alpha Team, take the north approach. Bravo, go south. Charlie, you're with me. We're going straight in. The Brutok opened fire immediately. Energy weapons and projectiles filled the air. 3 Marines went down in the first 30 seconds. But the Ghost Battalions moved like they were dancing. They used cover expertly, advancing and firing in coordinated bursts. Medic Minji ran behind Charlie Team, her medical kit ready. She was smaller than the combat Marines, but just as brave. When a Marine took a hit and fell, she was there in seconds. She dragged him behind cover while bullets hit the ground around her. "You're okay," she told the wounded Marine. "The armor took most of it. You'll live." The Marine nodded, pain in his eyes. "Thanks, Doc." Minji moved to the next wounded soldier. She had been a medic for 8 years. She had seen terrible things, but she always stayed calm, always focused. Lives depended on her. The Brutok positions were strong. They had good angles and heavy weapons, but they made one mistake. They thought the humans would not risk the hostages. They were wrong. Sniper Sunho lay on a ridge 2 kilometers from the main battle. His rifle was custom-made, designed for extreme long-range shots. He looked through his scope, finding targets. Brutok officers, Brutok heavy weapons teams, anyone who looked important. He saw a Brutok commander standing near a group of Kalari civilians. The commander was shouting orders. Sunho did the calculations in his head. Distance, wind, the planet's gravity, which was slightly less than Earth. He adjusted his aim. 1 shot. The Brutok commander fell. His troops looked around in confusion, trying to find where the shot came from. Sunho was already moving to a new position. Over the next hour, Sunho eliminated 12 Brutok leaders. Each time, the Brutok forces became a little more disorganized, a little more scared. They started to realize that no position was safe. Commander Jinwoo and Charlie Team reached the edge of the first refugee camp. Kalari civilians huddled in the center, surrounded by Brutok soldiers. The civilians looked terrified. Many were injured. Jinwoo counted at least 300 Kalari, including many children. "We need to get between the Brutok and the civilians," Jinwoo said. "Garcia, Thompson, you're with me. We're going to draw their fire. The rest of you, when we move, you take them out. Fast and clean." "Sir," one Marine said, "there are 30 Brutok soldiers in there. That's 10 to 1 odds." Jinwoo checked his rifle. "Then it's a fair fight. Let's go." He ran into the open. It was insane. It was suicide. But it worked. The Brutok soldiers turned to fire at him. In that moment, while they were focused on Jinwoo and his 2 Marines, the rest of Charlie Team attacked from the sides. The fight was short and brutal. The ghost battalions moved with precision, each shot carefully aimed to avoid the civilians. Within 90 seconds, all 30 Brutok soldiers were down. The Kalari civilians were safe. An elderly Kalari approached Jinwoo carefully. She reminded him of Elder Vosh from Captain Hyun's transmission. "You came," she said in broken human language. "You came for us." "We did," Jinwoo replied. "Can you walk? We need to get you all to safety." She nodded. "We can walk. Where do we go?" "Away from here. My medic will take you to the evacuation point." Medic Minji appeared, already checking the civilians for injuries. "I got them, Commander. Go do your job." Jinwoo and his team moved to the next camp. And the next. Across the battlefield, other Ghost Battalion units were doing the same thing. They cleared Brutok positions with ruthless efficiency. They evacuated civilians, even under heavy fire. Some Marines died protecting Kalari they did not know. Others were wounded, but they kept fighting. The Brutok started to panic. Their commanders were being picked off by an invisible sniper. Their soldiers were being defeated by enemies who valued alien lives more than their own safety. This was not how wars were supposed to work. General Cal found Warlord Thex in his command bunker. The general looked worried. "Sir, we are losing. The humans are rescuing the hostages. Our position is collapsing." Thex slammed his fist on the table. "How? How are they doing this? We have superior positions. We have the civilians." "They do not care about their own casualties," Cal said quietly. "They only care about saving the Kalari. I have never seen anything like it. They fight like every civilian life is worth 10 of their own." Thex felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. Real fear. "Send a message to the human commander. Tell them we want to negotiate." The message reached Admiral Taeyang on his flagship, still in orbit. He listened to Warlord Thex's offer. Territory, resources, technology, anything the humans wanted, in exchange for stopping the attack. Taeyang's response was cold. "Tell Warlord Thex there will be no negotiation. He murdered children. He committed genocide. The only thing waiting for him is justice." On the ground, Commander Jinwoo received word that Thex was in a command bunker 3 kilometers away. "That's our final target," Jinwoo told his team. "Alpha and Bravo teams have evacuated all the civilians. Now we end this." They approached the bunker carefully. It was heavily defended. Automated weapons, shields, elite Brutok guards. The Ghost Battalions took casualties approaching it. Medic Minji was running constantly, trying to save wounded Marines. Sunho provided cover fire from his distant position. He picked off guards one by one, but there were too many. "Commander, I can thin them out, but I can't clear the bunker entrance," he reported. "Understood," Jinwoo replied. "We'll do it the old-fashioned way." He led the final assault personally. His Marines threw explosives. They fired heavy weapons. They pushed forward despite casualties. Slowly, meter by meter, they fought their way to the bunker entrance. Inside, Warlord Thex heard the fighting getting closer. He armed himself and walked to the bunker's main entrance. General Cal followed. "We should surrender," Cal said. "There is no shame in—" "There is only shame," Thex shouted. "The Brutok do not surrender." The bunker door exploded inward. Smoke filled the entrance. Through it came Commander Jinwoo, his armor scorched and damaged, his rifle ready. Behind him were 6 Marines, all that remained of his personal squad. Thex raised his weapon. "So the human commander comes himself. Why? Why do you care about the Kalari? They are nothing to you." Jinwoo did not lower his rifle. "They are people. They asked for help. That is all we needed to hear." "You do not even know them," Thex shouted. "You have lost ships, lost soldiers. For what? For aliens you met days ago?" "Yes," Jinwoo said simply, "because that is what civilized people do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We answer calls for help, even when it costs us." Thex laughed bitterly. "You call yourself civilized? Look at what you have done. You destroyed my fleet. You killed thousands of my soldiers. You murdered millions of Kalari, Jinwu replied. His voice was hard as stone. You burned their cities. You killed their children. You made them beg for mercy while you slaughtered them. We gave you a chance to surrender. You chose to fight. These are the consequences. Thex raised his weapon higher. I will not be judged by a human. Jinwu fired first. Thex fell. The warlord looked surprised, as if he could not believe this was how his story ended. He died on the floor of his bunker, defeated by an enemy he had underestimated. General Cal slowly raised his hands. I surrender, he said quietly. My soldiers will too. The war is over. Jinwu lowered his weapon. Call your troops. Tell them to lay down their weapons. Anyone who surrenders will be treated fairly. Anyone who keeps fighting will die. Within an hour, the remaining Brutok forces surrendered. The battle for Kalari Prime was over. The war had lasted 12 days. Medic Minji walked among the wounded, treating both humans and Kalari. Some Brutok prisoners needed medical attention too. She treated them as well, though some Marines looked at her strangely for it. Why help them? One Marine asked. After what they did? Minji looked up from bandaging a Brutok soldier's arm. Because we are not like them. We do not let people die when we can save them. Not even our enemies. The evacuation ships came down from orbit. They carried the rescued Kalari civilians up to the human fleet, medical ships, supply ships, everything needed to help the survivors. Commander Jinwu stood on a hill, watching the sunset on Kalari Prime. The planet was damaged, but it would heal. The Kalari people had survived. Not all of them. Too many had died. But enough lived to rebuild. He thought about Captain Hyun and the crew of the Celestial Drift. They had started this by answering a call for help. They had given their lives so Earth would know. So Earth would come. We came, Jinwu said quietly to the evening air. Just like you knew we would. The Galactic Council chambers were located on a neutral space station orbiting a dead star. It was ancient and grand, built by species that no longer existed. 57 different species had seats in the council. They made the laws. They kept the peace. Or they tried to. Today the council was angry. 3 weeks after the Battle of Varan, they had summoned humanity to answer for their actions. Ambassador Daeun stood in the center of the chamber. She was 32 years old and had been Earth's ambassador for only 2 years. She had never expected to face something like this. Around her, alien representatives stared down from their elevated seats. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Most looked nervous. Counselor Prex, a tall being with blue skin and too many eyes, spoke first. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. Ambassador Daeun, humanity has violated the Prime Non-Interference Directive. You sent a military fleet into territory that was not yours. You engaged in warfare without council approval. You have destabilized an entire region of space. How do you answer these charges? Daeun stood straight. Her voice was calm and clear. I answer them with pride, Counselor. We did exactly what we should have done. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded humanity be sanctioned. Some called for Earth to be isolated from the galactic community. Counselor Prex raised his hand for silence. Pride? Prex said. You are proud of starting a war? We did not start the war, Daeun replied. The Brutok did when they began their genocide. We only finished it. Another counselor spoke up. This one was from the Alteran Union, a species that valued order above all things. The Varan system was in Brutok territory. By our laws, it was an internal matter. Your laws protected genocide, Daeun said. If that is what your laws do, then your laws are worthless. The chamber exploded again. But before Prex could respond, the doors to the chamber opened. Elder Vosh walked in. He was old and moved slowly, but his eyes were bright. Behind him came 50 other Kalari, survivors of the war. I requested to speak, Vosh said. The council granted me this right. Prex looked uncomfortable. Elder Vosh, this is a matter between the council and humanity. It is a matter about my people, Vosh interrupted, so I will speak. He walked to the center of the chamber, standing beside Dayun. He looked up at the assembled counselors. When he spoke, his voice was stronger than it had any right to be. You say the humans violated your laws. I want to tell you what your laws protected. The Brutok came to our worlds without warning. They said we had to leave. When we tried to leave, they shot our ships. When we begged for mercy, they laughed. They killed my grandson while I watched. He was 6 years old. The chamber was silent now. Vosh continued, his voice shaking with emotion. We sent a distress call. We sent it to 23 species. 23. Every single one of you heard our call. Every single one of you knew we were dying, and every single one of you did nothing. He pointed at the counselors. You hid behind your laws. You said it was not your problem. You let us die because it was convenient. Only one species answered. Only the humans came. Vosh turned to look at Ambassador Dayun. Captain Hyun came. He had a cargo ship. No weapons. No army. Just a good heart. He came because we asked for help. He died trying to save my people. And then his people came. Thousands of humans died to save strangers they had never met. They lost ships. They lost soldiers. And they never asked for anything in return. He turned back to the council. His voice was hard now, angry. You want to punish them for this? You want to sanction them for being the only ones brave enough to do what was right? Then you are not worthy to lead this council. You are cowards hiding behind rules that protect murderers. Vosh walked out, the other Kalari following him. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, Prex spoke. The Kalari's testimony is noted. However, the fact remains that humanity acted outside the law. President Yuna's voice came over the communication system. She had been watching from Earth. Counselor Prex, may I address the council? You are not the ambassador, Prex began. I am the president of Earth. I am the one who ordered the fleet to Varan. If you want to hold someone responsible, it should be me. Prex looked annoyed, but nodded. Very well, speak. Yuna appeared on the massive screens around the chamber. She looked tired. The war had aged her, but her voice was strong. You are right, Counselor. We did break your laws. We knew we were breaking them when we went to Varan. And I want to make something very clear to every species represented in that chamber. We will do it again. The council erupted once more. Prex shouted for order. You cannot simply ignore our laws? Watch us, Yuna said. The Kalari sent a distress call. They asked for help. We answered. And we will answer every call like it. If a species is being slaughtered, we will intervene. If civilians are being murdered, we will stop it. Your laws, your politics, your trade agreements, none of that matters more than innocent lives. You cannot police the entire galaxy, someone shouted. We are not trying to police anyone, Yuna replied. We are only saying this. If you call for help, we will come. We do not care if it is politically convenient. We do not care if it costs us ships or lives or trade deals. When someone asks for help, humanity will respond. Admiral Taiyang appeared on the screen beside Yuna. He wore his dress uniform. The Terran Defense Fleet is standing by. We have rebuilt the ships we lost at Varan. We are ready to respond to any distress call, anywhere, at any time. A small, timid counselor spoke up. But what if you receive false distress calls? What if species try to manipulate you? Then we will learn from our mistakes, Yuna said, but we will not let fear of being deceived stop us from helping those who truly need it. Captain Hyun did not know if the Kalari distress call was real. He went anyway. That is who we are. Counselor Prex leaned back in his seat. He looked at the other counselors, then back at the screen. President Yuna, You must understand the position this puts the Council in. If we allow you to act without consequences, other species will think they can do the same. Let them, Yuna said. Maybe more species should be willing to help the helpless. Maybe that would make the galaxy a better place. The Council voted on sanctions against Earth. The vote was close. Some species wanted humanity isolated. Some wanted trade restrictions, others wanted military limitations, but in the end, the vote failed. Not because the Council agreed with humanity, but because too many species were watching. Too many civilians across the galaxy had seen what happened at Varan. 3 days after the Council meeting, a message arrived at Earth. It was from a species called the Karathi, small beings who lived on a single moon. They were being threatened by pirates. They asked for help. President Yuna called Admiral Tai Yang. "How fast can you get there?" 3 days, Tai Yang said. "Should I mobilize?" "Yes," Yuna replied without hesitation. "And Admiral, make it clear. Anyone who preys on the weak will answer to us." The fleet arrived at the Karathi moon system. The pirates saw the human warships and fled without fighting. The Karathi were safe. They sent a message of thanks to Earth, along with a request to establish an embassy. Over the next month, 7 more species sent distress calls to Earth. 7 more times the Terran Defense Fleet responded. Some were small missions. Some required only a show of force. But each time, humanity made the same promise. "We heard your call, and we came." Other species started to change. The Alteran Union, who had criticized humanity at the Council, quietly began training rapid response forces. They never admitted they were copying the humans, but everyone knew. 3 species formed a mutual defense pact, promising to help each other if attacked. The Council could not stop it. On Earth, a memorial was built for Captain Hyun and the crew of the Celestial Drift. It was a simple thing. Just a wall with their names and one sentence. They heard a call for help, and they answered. Elder Vosh attended the memorial dedication. He was very old now, moving with difficulty, but he insisted on speaking. "My people will remember," he said. "We will tell our children and their children. When the galaxy ignored our screams, humanity heard them. When we had no hope, humanity gave us a future. We will never forget." Ambassador Dayun stood with him. More species were sending ambassadors to Earth now. They wanted to understand these strange humans who fought for strangers. Some feared humanity, some admired them, all respected them. Dayun received a message on her tablet. She read it and smiled. Another distress call. This one from a species she had never heard of, in a system she could not pronounce. They were being attacked by slavers. She forwarded the message to Admiral Taeyang with a simple note. They asked for help. Taeyang's response came within minutes. "Fleet is mobilizing. We'll be there in 4 days." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Donghae prepared for another mission. His ship had been repaired after Varan, but it still carried scars. Some of his crew were replacements, filling spots left by those who died. But they all understood their duty. "Captain," his communication officer said, "we are receiving a transmission. Multiple species are broadcasting it. It appears to be a message of support." "Play it," Donghae ordered. Voices filled the bridge, different languages, different species, all saying the same thing. Humanity responded. "Humanity will come. If you need help, call Earth." Donghae smiled. Set course for the distress signal. Maximum speed. The Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed. They were going to answer another call for help. And another after that. And another. In the council chambers, Councillor Prex watched reports of humanity's activities. They were everywhere now, helping, protecting, fighting when they had to. Some councillors were angry. Some were worried. Prex was just tired. "They are changing everything," one councillor said. "The old order is collapsing." Perhaps it needed to collapse. Prex said quietly. Perhaps we forgot what civilization means. The humans are reminding us. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for generations started to hope. Pirates found their prey defended. Warlords found their invasions stopped. The helpless found protectors, not because of profit, not because of politics, but because someone heard them cry for help. And humanity kept its promise. Every distress call received a response. Every plea for help was answered. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Some called humanity warriors. Some called them guardians. Some called them fools who would die protecting strangers. Humanity called themselves something simpler. They called themselves people who answered when someone called for help. That was all, and that was enough. On Earth, President Yuna looked at the stars and thought about Captain Hyun. He had started this with one simple choice. He heard a call for help, and he answered. Now all of humanity followed his example. We will keep coming, Yuna said quietly to the night sky. As long as someone needs help, we will respond, with fury if we must, with compassion always. This is who we are. This is who we will always be. And across the galaxy, in the darkness between the stars, voices called out for help. And humanity heard them all.